At this time, I'll call this meeting to order. Clerk of the Board, please call the roll.
Freeholder Bergen.
Here.
Freeholder Carter.
Here.
Freeholder Estrada.
Present.
Freeholder Garrettson.
Here.
Freeholder Hudak.
Here.
Freeholder Jallo.
Here.
Freeholder Mirabella.
Present.
Vice Chairman Kowalski.
Here.
And Chairman Granados.
Here.
Chairman, you have 9 freeholders present.
Clerk of the Board, please lead us in the prayer and salute to the flag.
Humbly ask God, the giver of peace and the lover of charity, to give the entire family of nations true agreement with his will, and to grant the light of his spirit on all who work for justice and peace. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk of the Board, please read a statement of compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act.
The chair wishes to announce that pursuant to the requirements of New Jersey statutes annotated Title 10, Chapter 4, Section 10 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting of the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of the Union has been given by mailing the annual meeting schedule for the year 2018, along with periodic changes necessitated by circumstances, to the newspapers circulating within the County of Union who are designated to receive such notice, and by posting the annual meeting schedule for the year 2018 in the Administration Building, and further by filing the annual meeting schedule for the year 2018 with the Office of the County Clerk.
Thank you very much. Prior to moving on to presentations for today's meeting, it's with heavy heart that I ask for a moment of silence in recognition of the passing of an iconic political figure, a fierce public servant and dear friend of this board, Assemblyman Jerry Green. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open the floor to the freeholders to offer their sentiments regarding our friend and Assemblyman Jerry Green. Freeholders? Freeholder Mirabella?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I share your sadness and the sadness of this body on the passing of Assemblyman Green, not only a friend of this county, a friend of the state of New Jersey, but a personal friend of mine over many, many years servicing our mutual constituents. He did a terrific job day in and day out working for the people who had no voice, and I will miss him. His leadership, his sense of humor, his sense of duty to the residents that he served, and the fact that he was around so long in the state assembly and worked hard, and that was the longest serving member before his passing. Is a true testament to the work that he did and the people he served and the respect that he had from residents of Union County and his district and all across the state of New Jersey. So I will miss him, and I wish him and his family Godspeed, and may they find some peace in this sad time.
Thank you, Freeholder Mirabella. Vice Chair Kowalski?
Yes, I second the sentiments from Freeholder Mirabella. In all the time that I knew Assemblyman Jerry Green, he was always about doing positive things, constructive things for the people, not just the people of his assembly district, but for everyone in Union County. He had served he came from humble beginnings and worked hard to learn, to educate himself, to learn about our political system, and rose to become first a freeholder and then an assemblyman. He served 5 years as the chairman of the Union County Democratic Committee following our Charlotte D. Filippo. In his time on the Democratic Committee, he reached out to all of the towns, all of the constituencies within Union County. I can't even count the times that people would step up and mention something specific that Assemblyman Green had done to help them. I would just like to again give my condolences to his family, all his friends, those of us who loved him, and by quoting Chairman Granados, you can repeat this if you want, but Chairman Green set an example of how to live a life in politics and government with dignity, humility, and grace, and I really think that says it all, so thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Freeholder Carter?
I send my condolences out to his entire family, his wife, and his children, his grandchildren, and also the entire community. Chairman Green, Assemblyman Green was a true legislator. When you look at the things that he put and brought forth, he fought for the things that were right for individuals. He may not have always agreed with you, or you may not have always agreed with him, but when you had your conversation and you walked out of a room from him, you were all at an understanding. And that was the true art that he had, to make sure that, you know what, everybody walks out, everybody's okay, and we can move forward with whatever we were discussing. And when you had an issue, you can go to him, and guess what? He knew right where to go to get you help, to get you the answers, and really making, you know, some of the sacrifices we needed to make here in the county, along the state, to be better for all. He will truly be missed, but we will always know and keep his legacy alive to make sure that we are doing the good government and the right government, not only for Union County, but for the state of New Jersey.
Thank you much. Fielder Bergen?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not going to repeat what's been said, but I do join in all of those remarks. I knew Assemblyman Green for probably close to 30 years, maybe longer, here in Union County. He was a shining example of how to do government correctly. He cared about the people, and as has been said, not only in his district but across the state of New Jersey. Housing was one of the issues, affordable housing, that he focused on, and he was tenacious in fighting for the rights of people who might not otherwise have anybody speaking for them. I'm sort of at a loss for words, but I will miss Jerry. He was a great influence on me and on this county, and he will be missed. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Fielder Garrison?
Yes, I'd like to just, of course, express my condolences, but I also want to just remember the light and legacy that he also put in so many great people. Yes, it is a sad day, but Chairman Green would always remind me that it's not a sprint, but a marathon. So he would always really show and instill just belief in the work that we can all do. And I just remember his very infectious smile. He'd smile at you, and it was very contagious, and you knew that, you know, you can move on now. You can, you know, move on to the next thing you needed to do. So during this time, I want us just to also remember that he is in each and every one of us who truly understood what public service was all about. He didn't always have to get his way, but what he understood was that he did do compromising. So again, I do applaud his life, his legacy, and I smile today and very proud that the Union County Students VOTEC worked with many of the Black county and state officials for Black History Month, and we had an essay contest in light of Chairman Green. It's the good work that he's done as one of the longest serving legislators. So we will celebrate his life, we will honor his life, but we will also make sure that he will not be forgotten.
Thank you much, Fielder. Fielder Hudak?
Thank you, Chairman. I first met Chairman Green at about 17 years ago when the districts were redrawn and he became the assemblyman for the 22nd legislative district, which included Linden. So I got to know him a little bit working on that campaign. And a few years later, when I found myself as the chairman of the Linden Democratic Party, this day after I won that election, Jerry was the first call that I received, and he reached out and said, "Sit down," and he extended his guidance and his wisdom, and it was something that I could count on as a chairman, and then later as a freeholder. I can say a lot of what has been said, and it certainly bears repeating because it was a life well lived. He certainly did a lot for his community. He did a lot for the residents of the state of New Jersey. Among the things that I learned from Assemblyman Green was that it is okay to argue and to fight for what you want, and occasionally you may leave a room unhappy with the result, and others may leave the room unhappy. But the one thing about Jerry was always a willingness to come back in the room with those that he had opposed at some point and work with them again. So I learned a tremendous amount from him. I will miss him. He was a good friend to everyone, a good mentor to a generation of politicians and elected officials and activists here in Union County. But most importantly, he was a great public servant, and he did as much good as he could while he was here. So I mourn with everyone on his passing, and he certainly will be missed. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder Jallo.
I will certainly add that I'll also miss Jerry Green. I've known him my entire life. I recall being introduced to him over and over again when he would attend my grandfather's church. Ultimately, actually, we went to the same school together. I don't think you guys knew that. Or maybe not together, but to the same school. Certainly many years apart, but we went to Lincoln School in Roselles, where we're both from, and came out of that school. And I remember re-meeting him again shortly after law school, when he said he needed a clerk in his legislative office. And I said, well, what do you do there? And he says, I do, politics and government. And I said, I don't want to do anything associated with politics or government. And so I said, but my brother does. And so my brother worked in his office and ultimately became his chief of staff for a time. And ultimately, when I did find my way into this life of government and politics, he was always there for me, looking out. He always called me with advice, solicited and unsolicited. But I always listened graciously, because I knew it was coming from the mouth of someone who had been there. He had been a freeholder. He had all these positions, and I certainly admired and listened to what he had to say. We didn't always agree, but he usually ended our conversations with, "Am I right? Am I wrong?" But it sounded to me more like, "Am I right? Am I right?" Got it right. And but most times he was right. And so I'll certainly miss him. I've already extended and will continue to extend my condolences to his family. He's meant a lot to all of us, and he will surely be missed. Thank you.
Thank you. Freeholder Estrada.
Thank you very much. Well, I've known Jerry for many, many years. No doubt there was a high level of respect, because Jerry, as an individual, was an individual who found himself in many challenges through life. Being an Afro-American in a society that very often did not recognize the contributions of blacks in this country, was what I consider a trailblazer. Very much involved in terms of housing. I think that's his issue, that no matter whether you wanted to hear or not, housing was a priority with him. He would tell you the importance of having people overall look in the state about their commitment to low-income housing, which is so critical throughout the state, and to the point that he actually led that committee for many years. No doubt that often, yes, Jerry wanted to make sure you thought in a certain way, and he said, "No, Jerry, I don't think that's the way it is, but this is the way that I think it is." And like Mohammed was saying, it always was about, at the end, coming together and making sure that, give me the opportunity, we'll fix it. And I remember very often having those kinds of conversation. My condolences go out to all his family, his friends, an individual who has had a tremendous impact overall in terms of the county, and for sure he'll be missed. As a matter of fact, would call his office, try to find out how he was coming along, and I just learned from the county manager that 2 days ago was his birthday. So I'm sure it was not a very, very nice way to celebrate one's birthday, but he will definitely be missed. And while I'm at that, in terms, we have lost a few other people. Bolter Walwright, whose son passed away at age, I think, 37, who was a freeholder, who sat in this board many years ago. Nobody probably here, maybe Al remembers him because it was closer to the time, but somebody who's very much liked, and I'm sure that no parent wants to get the news that his child has passed away. So that's something. And also Barbara Bush, who passed away recently, and our condolences. It's something that the nation feels it. I know that it's a good time to think of the impact that these individuals have had in our society, and that's very crucial. Thank you very much for allowing me a few comments.
No, thank you, Freeholder. And just echoing the comments and references Freeholder Board, we can see how he's touched so many lives, not only on this Freeholder Board, but across the County of Union and State of New Jersey. He's someone that truly had your back, you know, when time was needed, and he's somebody who cared for every single individual, not only as an elected official, but as a person. He's somebody who I looked up to, and so many of us looked up to as a mentor. Somebody who continued to give back to his community and truly never forgot where he came from, and never forgot to give back to individuals and helping out as many people as possible. I know taking many drives up to Plainfield to talk to Linden Green and having deep conversations of, you know, his upbringing in Roselle and, you know, his work in Plainfield. And you can see his true passion he had for helping out other individuals, and how at heart he was truly young and had the energy more than many of us. He had a lot more energy than many of us, and it just showed in his work and it showed in his dedication on how he truly left a lasting mark on the state of New Jersey, and it will be truly missed. And with that said, I just want to give his condolences to his family also. So with that said, we will move on to the first presentation by Mr. Douglas Rouse, Executive Director of the Union County College Foundation, for tonight's presentation.
Thank you all for inviting me to speak to you today. Before I go into my discussion on the Mayor's Challenge that we're proposing, I just want to give everyone sort of a little history about what the Union County College Foundation is, just in case you all don't know. So the Union County Foundation was founded over 40 years ago. Over the last 3 years, we've invested over $3.5 million in our students. This past year alone, we've presented over 700 scholarships and $1 million. Recently, the foundation has worked with political leaders in our community to set up additional programs, including our Close the Gap program, to help accelerate the pace of African American graduation, inspire the future for our Hispanic students, our STEM Revolution, which helps fund our new STEM division, Operation Graduation, which is the program to help really push graduation rates up at the college, and most recently, our food and security programs, which provides free breakfast for our students and a food pantry. Our Mayor's Challenge came up a few months ago when I had the opportunity to have lunch with Freeholder Marabella and Chairman Granados, and we were discussing some ideas on ways to support our students. And we came up with this idea for the Mayor's Challenge. The exciting thing is that every town in Union County has at least one student, more than one most likely, that attend our school. And Union County College is the single most important institution of higher education for the people living in Union County. Our goal is to bring all of our mayors together to raise scholarship funds for the students from their own towns. And each scholarship would then be named after that mayor. We're hoping to hold a kickoff in June with Dr. McMiniman and other people from the community. I want to give two real good examples of how we've already worked with community organizations on different types of scholarship programs. The first example is working with the trade unions. Recently, the Carpenters Union joined our foundation board, and they reached out to all different types of unions across the area, and we raised close to $10,000 for students who are in applied science. And we've also worked with the Union County Police Chiefs Association and set up a scholarship for police officers and their family. This scholarship program has also raised about $10,000 for those students. Our goal for the Mayor's Challenge, and I have some information here, so I don't cover it all today. It's right here. If you could distribute it, that would be wonderful. Is to raise over $31,000, approximately $1,500 per town. And I'm asking and begging almost that the Freeholders join us in this challenge, serve as honorary chairs of this program. I think this is a wonderful idea to put people over politics and bring together our entire community for one specific goal to help support the future of our students here in Union County. The foundation in our college is one of the most important, and as someone has told me, is the hidden gem within our community. It's time to bring it to the light. Let everybody know what we're about. Let everybody in our community know how important this college is, because everyone understands that a college education really is the single most important thing to growing success and ending this cycle of poverty. I'll take any questions. If not, I appreciate your time.
Are there any questions from the Freeholder Board? Freeholder Mayor Bella?
Mr. Chairman,
Comments?
not necessarily a question,
Or
but
comment.
just a comment. So Freeholder Estrada, Freeholder Kowalski and I probably were around when the Freeholder scholarships were started back in the day, helping generate some opportunity for students and a commitment from the Freeholder Board to provide scholarships for students. And I think this takes it another step forward. And I like the competition among mayors. I've had a chance to speak with a few mayors about the program that's coming up. I had the opportunity, Freeholders, to represent the board at last week's scholarship reception. And I spoke to the crowd there, and there was the folks who had put scholarships together on one side, and then the students and their families in the middle, and just seeing the impact. And we understand here the contributions of Union County College, but seeing the impact that these scholarships make on the students and the opportunity that it gives for people who otherwise wouldn't have a chance to go to school really is something that has attracted me to this, and see if we could do even more. And so I'm willing, the other freeholders can either speak with Doug or speak with me directly to help on some campaign to get our mayors and our communities engaged in this competition. I think it will be fun for them. I think they'd get a kick out of it. And I think one of the things that's important is the scholarship dollars that are raised will go to people from that community. Right, Doug?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm delighted for this. I invited Doug to come through the chairman to present to this board. I think it's a great idea, and I look forward to continuing to do my part to help make this a successful campaign.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Really appreciate you coming
Should
here,
we
Ted.
sit this on the table?
Yeah, if you can give it to the clerk, he'll take care of it. Thank you, Doug.
Now we'll go into the regular business portion of our meeting. May I have a motion to approve the communications?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion was made by Freeholder Carter and seconded by Vice Chair Kowalski. Clerk of the Board, please call the roll.
Freeholder Bergen,
Yes.
Freeholder Carter,
Yes.
Freeholder Estrada,
Yes?
Freeholder Garrettson,
Yes.
Freeholder Hudak,
Aye.
Freeholder Jallo,
Aye.
Freeholder Mirabella,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Kowalski,
Yes.
Chairman Granados.
Aye.
Chairman, you have 9 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you very much. Prior to opening the meeting up for public comment on resolutions, I'd like to call upon Fiscal Chairman Bruce Bergen to offer his remarks on the 2018 budget, which will be introduced tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Granados. Through you, as the 2018 Chairman of the Fiscal Committee, I've helped to lead the review of this year's proposed budget over the past few months, and we're ready to introduce it tonight. It's Resolution 2018-315. As you may have heard me say at the 3 public Fiscal Committee departmental budget hearings in Kenilworth, Scotch Plains, and Elizabeth, at the urging of Chairman Granados, former County Manager Al Fiella presented a lean executive budget, which reflected a tax increase of about 2.45%. I once again want to thank Al, CFO B.B. Taylor, and all of our department heads for their hard work in preparing that proposal. But as I have previously said, the chairman and this board felt that we needed to do better. Therefore, through the work of the Fiscal Committee, the chairman's ad hoc efficiency committee, County Manager Ed Oatman, and all of our department heads, we were able to find ways to reduce the tax levy by an additional $2.489 million to about a 1.75% increase in the overall county tax levy. This was done without any loss of jobs, reduction of services, or negative impact on our stellar bond rating. This board is now in a position to adopt a budget with the lowest tax increase in at least 15 years. Nonetheless, our review will continue until a final budget is ready to be voted upon. Tonight, the public will have an opportunity to comment on the resolution introducing the 2018 budget. Further, pending formal approval by the state of New Jersey, we will be holding a public hearing on the budget at our May 17 meeting at 7 p.m. right here in this room. And the public, of course, will be able to make comment at that time as well. I want to once again thank the members of the Fiscal Committee, that's Freeholder Vice Chairman Kowalski and Freeholders Estrada and Mirabella for their hard work, along with the County Manager, our department heads, and once again our Finance Director, B.B. Taylor, and her staff. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Freeholder Bergen. I just want to thank you as the fiscal chair, individual in the fiscal committee, and the individuals part of the Cost Efficiency Task Force Committee also working together with our county manager, our finance director, and finance department, making sure that we closely look at our budget and make any necessary cuts while also not reducing quality of services to our residents. So we greatly appreciate everyone for their hard work on that. So this meeting is now open to the public for the purpose of commenting on resolutions being offered for adoption only. Kindly state your name and town of residence for the record and the resolution to which you are referring to and adhere to the 5-minute time limit.
Nancy Peovar, Myrtle Avenue, Plainfield. I wasn't going to get up during resolutions and motions, but I see 2018-314, and it references the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I just want to make all of you aware that the gentleman that wrote that act grew up at Plainfield. His name was Burke Marshall. He was appointed by Robert Kennedy under the President Kennedy's administration, and he was a hands-on negotiator during the Civil Rights Movement. And he resigned in December of 1964, but he was a Union County born person who wrote the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
We really appreciate that. It's new, I know new knowledge for myself, and I think some others too on this Freeholder board, so really appreciate it.
You live on Prospect Ave.
Nice, look at that.
What number?
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to comment on resolutions?
John Berry of Kenilworth. And I got three things. First is a comment on 315, the budget thing. I haven't seen this new budget, but in the old one there was a massive surplus. So you could have easily had no increase at all, as far as I can tell. But I'll still have to look at it. But the main thing I wanted to bring up from the budget is that, again, the Open Space Trust Fund is being stolen. It says 2.25 million is coming for maintenance of parks, and there's also employees being paid out of that, and 4 million for bonding. And this happens starting back in 2011 when, at that time, Fiscal Chairman Lawrence Caroscelli wanted to retire and get lifetime health benefits, and the 2% cap came in, and he had to do something, so he started taking the Open Space Trust Fund. That's been continuing. Eventually, that might come to light. I mean, I don't see him doing too much review of this in New Jersey, so he might be able to get away for a few more years, but it's pretty obvious looking at it. Next thing is a question on 319. That's Cultural and Heritage Affairs grants. 32 agencies getting $65,000. Are any of those agencies either churches or religious organizations that are getting any of this money? And the last thing is on the marijuana thing. Supporting 373, that's legalizing possession and personal use. And the board, for that bill, I guess it's 830. I don't really know about marijuana or whatever, but I've heard that it does something to your brain. People may drive. This will probably cause more deaths on highways and all that. But my main point is that, there are 9 of you, and it's a moral kind of thing, like one of those. And it's difficult to see a 9-0 vote for legalizing marijuana. Like, somebody might have qualms about it. But then again, this bill was sponsored by our Senator Nicholas Scutari, who happens to be your boss. So we might get a 9-0 vote on it. But if some of you actually think that it's a bad idea, and I think if you went in the street or in Union County, it's probably a 50-50 on it, you probably should vote your conscience on this, because there are going to be people killed in auto accidents probably. I read you can't die from marijuana, but, if it's another thing to add on to, you know, the drinking and now the marijuana use, it could be a dangerous thing, and some of you might have qualms on it that, you know, you might want to bug Senator Scutari on. That was it. So it's just the one question about the arson thing.
Before Director Zuber makes a comment in reference to 319, I just want to make sure perfectly clear, Mr. Berry, is that every single member who makes part of this Freeholder board makes all decisions based off their feeling and based off their opinion and what they think is right. And they continues to move forward, not only with this piece of legislation, but any resolution that comes before this Freeholder board. So I take offense to that, and I think many members of this Freeholder board take offense to that, because we were elected to represent the residents of Union County, and we continue to do so to the best of our ability as individuals. Dr. Zuber?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the 32 organizations, there's one church who's represented on this list.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public?
Good evening, Chair Granatus, ladies and gentlemen of the Freeholder Board, Bruce Patterson, Garwood. Couple of resolutions, but multiple questions on each. On page 2, number 313, on the very top, it's a resolution to exceed the county tax limit and to establish the cap bank. I continually ask the same question. I mean, is that 2 items, resolution to exceed the county tax limit, and then also the second one to establish a cap bank? I've never really gotten an answer on that. Again, to talk about it, to exceed the county tax levy limit, what exactly does that mean, and how much is it being exceeded? Also, the cap bank, I've always talked about this, but I'd really like to hear how this is developed and why we lean upon the 1977 cap bank when the 2010 cap is a lot more stringent in determining this, and yet looking at the manager's budget, it actually turns out 2010 is a larger number than 1977. It just doesn't make sense. And how does escalation figure into the cap bank? That's a question for obviously Director Taylor would be doing it. Number 315, that's the budget, and again, yeah, I do echo Mr. Burry's comments about, you know, it's a massive surplus. Again, I haven't seen the full budget, but I'm sure it's around $55 million in surplus, which you're using some of it. You could easily get down to a 0 tax increase. Easily. If you got down to 174, you can get to 0. In honor of Bruce Bergen sitting on the board for the final year, and also for Alpha Yellow. That'd be a great honor. 0 increase. And it'd be amazing. I'd come up here and I'd really thank you for it. Number 319 on that same page, a couple of questions on this. It's reallocating funds, and I'm just wondering, what does that mean by reallocating funds from what to what? And those 2 numbers, 144,000 and 65,000, the difference is 80,000. Now you're giving 65,000 to 32 agencies, and where's the other $80,000 going? And it's for producing high-quality arts. And I guess my question here is, what is the criteria of high-quality arts? Who determines that? Okay, another page. Page 4, item 333. It's $120,000 for Union County Means Green Community Garden Grants. It was originally 50. I guess you're adding 70, so it's 120,000. I'm just wondering, what exactly? That's a lot of money. So I'd like to know about what is this? What is that? Page 5, number 336. It's a county match of $95,000 on I guess $382,000, and that's a 25% match. And you ding the towns all the time for a 50% match, and I've seen a 25% match here. Why can't you do that to the towns instead of dinging them for 50? Ding them for 25. Maybe I'd accept that. Number 343, you discussed about this a lot. It was a park, Cedarbrook Park, and it was the depth of hazmat materials, and it's an impact of a change order of 7.7%, $146,000. You did discuss it, but I'm just wondering, what exactly, it was natural occurring hazmat material. What is that? What's this naturally occurring hazmat material? I guess there is no further costs, that's it, $146,000. And I'm just wondering, in the spec, did it say 4 inches and you had to dig down 6 inches? And the last question on that, it was still under budget, somebody said, I don't recall who it was, but I'm just wondering, how much is it under budget? Number 346 on page 6, off management is getting for mobile food and ice cream truck services, Phil Rizzuto Park. I couldn't find anything online for them. Could somebody explain who off management is, who's their principals, where I can contact them? Okay. 349 on the bottom, internal position controls, just an overview of what that is about. And I guess 353 is supporting the proposed minimum wage increase for airport workers. And, you know, it's a feel-good resolution, and I see why you're supporting it, but can anybody tell me what the minimum wage is and what it's being increased to before you vote on this? At least you should know what these numbers are before you vote, so. That's it. Okay. Do I have time? No, I don't.
Nope. Thank you very much, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you very much.
Call upon County Manager Edelman.
For the position controls, there are 11 total, 5 in the County Counsel's office, 3 in the Clerk's office, 2 in the Sheriff's office, and 1 in purchasing.
Thank you very much, County Manager. Director Taylor, in reference at 313. You'll have to talk about the subject, so.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. Through you, Chairman. Resolution 2018-313, resolution to exceed the county tax levy limit and establish a cap bank, the imperative word being and. So yes, it is 2 separate things. One, to exceed the limit under the 1977 cap. The county is given a COLA by the state this year. The COLA is 2.5%. We're allowed to go up to a maximum of 3.5%, but in order to do that, we have to establish this resolution. And in this case, we do not need to utilize the additional 1%, so we are banking that for future years in the event that we need it. It is a financial management tool. I think that was it.
That was it. Thank you very much. Director Zuber, in reference to 319, 343, and 346.
$319 is for Culture and Heritage, $65,000 that was reallocated for the groups, and those groups were chosen by the Culture and Heritage Programs Advisory Board, and the remainder of that funding goes towards salaries.
343.
And what was originally was thought to be 2 inches that they would be digging, they went down 4, and it was in the result of discovering non-point pollution at the source.
Thank you very much. As Administrator Vicki Drake comes forward for 333, just want to also make mention that those dollars are basically just having groundwork be the administrator. That's not the exact money that groundwork will be paid. That's just them overseeing the project and the grant programs. But Director Drake, if you want to add anything.
Just to let you know, Chairman and freeholders, as I think you already do, the $70,000 is not tax dollars. It's from a trust fund, and it will fund gardens in 60 schools in 16 towns throughout Union County. It's the 2nd year that that program is in existence, and the $50,000 is established for community gardens throughout Union County.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other members of the public wishing to comment? Resolutions? No, seeing none. May I have a motion to adopt resolutions 2018-313 through 2018-382?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Freeholder Mirabella, seconded by Vice Chair Kowalski. Clerk of the board, please call the roll.
Freeholder Bergen.
Yes.
Freeholder Carter.
Yes to all, abstain on 319.
I'm sorry, that was abstain on
19.
319. Freeholder Estrada.
Yes, with an exception in 315 on the page that says 6 years of capital programs 2018 to 2023. I have objections to the 2018 quantity of $70,351,660.
So Freeholder, is that an abstention or is that voting in the negative?
I'm sorry?
Just for clarification, are you voting in the negative for
Well,
315?
I vote yes for the budget, but unfortunately, I cannot support this page, which, so if you can, if it can be done, yes, if not, then I guess no for the budget.
Freeholder Garrettson?
Yes.
313 is for introduction.
It's okay. I want to raise my concerns right now about this, this number here.
Freeholder Hudak?
Aye.
Freeholder Jallo?
Aye to all except 2018-373.
I apologize, I must have to go to a doctor to get my hearing checked, but what was that again?
Aye to all except 2018-373.
Freeholder Mirabella?
Aye.
Freeholder Vice Chairman Kowalski?
Yes.
And Chairman Granados?
Aye.
Chairman, you have 9 votes to the affirmative, with the exception, we have 8 votes in the affirmative and 1 vote as an absent, sorry, 8 votes in the affirmative with 1 abstention for Resolution 2018-319. You have 7 votes in the affirmative with 2 votes in the negative for Resolution 318, and 8 votes in the affirmative, 1 vote in the negative for Resolution 315. I believe I have that correct.
At this time, I'd like to open the meeting to the public for the purpose of commenting on any governmental issue that a member of the public feels may be of concern to the residents of the county. Kindly state your name and town of residence for the record and adhere to the 5-minute time limit.
The microphone.
Yeah, not a problem, of course.
He's got it.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Chris Nelson. I live at 746 Trumbull Street. I'm a resident of Elizabeth for 30 years. I rented for 10 years and I'm mortgaging for 20. So with that being said, I got a good anchor within the community. And I want to stress some things on behalf of the organization and members that ain't here. As you know, Citizens Going Forward, I represent. Nonprofit organization. I'd like to speak about, as far as like the character witness of me, speaking about our organization. There's been some things that need to be addressed so that we can all be on one page where we have an understanding of what we represent. And we're not a organization for profit. We're a nonprofit organization. And with that being said, I made a couple of pointers, and I'd like to go through this since I have 5 minutes to do so. I come before you with all due respect. We thank you for the support in the last 2 years on behalf of the organization, and we couldn't done much of what we have done so far. And so with that being said also, I wanted to tell you also we had a good meeting April the 4th with county members in Montana Park. That's in regards to the upcoming June 2nd Goodwill Festival that we hope that we can have with your support. But with that being said, I got a call soon after, 2 hours later, from Mr. Sean, and he stressed to me that unfortunately you won't be able to sponsor us financially, that is, for this event. And I just was very hopeful that you will be able to do so, because it was assured to me the first year by Mr. James Pelletier that it won't be done in the first year unless we had to prove ourselves. And going on our 3rd year, I really believe we have done enough to prove ourselves. And we have done some great work in the community. It's been acknowledged by Mr. Cory Booker, the senator of New Jersey. We also been honored by our local city council members in recognition, as if you would like to just so, you know, you can see these things. This is factual. This is not something that I'm just speaking about, you know, without showing, you know, any proof of what we really represent. But with that also being said, we have been here numerous of times, and we shared with you that this is an all-inclusive program for the whole community, Union County, also the residents of Elizabeth. And it's been great. It's been going on good, you know, for the last 2 years, and we hope we can continue that. Well, here's why I think we should have your support, because we have proven ourselves. And I'm asking the chosen freeholder board members that consider us, because we had made sure in every event that we had to maintain order in the cooperation with our county officers in the park. We have 0 incidents. We make sure the county property is very well supervised by the organization and staff members. This includes county equipment. In fact, we have proven our children have no interest in destroying the county property, such as the benches that they sit on while the games are taking place, while playing, you know, basketball. We leave the park clean after every event when we leave. And we are inspired, to be truthfully, for what you do in Plainfield, the rhythm and blues. And so, you know, I thought of why not bring something like that to Elizabeth. That's where it all begun. You know, I was inspired by what you guys done, so I said, well, let's try to bring something over here similar to that. And it's welcome. Everybody look forward to it. And so we as an organization has proven ourselves, like I said, on multiple levels. And we just hope that, you know, we can couple humility with humanity as, you know, being partners for the long run, you know, where you could start putting us and consider us on your agenda each year.
Sorry to cut you off, but thank you for your comments. 5-minute time limit's over. Try to make some brief remarks into that. I think we all know that you're a great organization. We've worked with you in the past couple of years also. The clerk of the board, Pelletieri, is actually going to the back right now to look upon paperwork that fiscal chairman Bruce Bergen has in reference to sponsorship request, because you're stating that you did put a sponsorship request, so we'll have an answer to you before the end of the meeting. Okay?
Do you want to leave you some things?
Yes, we will. We'll grab it from you. Thank you very much. Any other members of the public?
Nancy Pivar again, Myrtle Avenue, Plainfield. On behalf of myself and a lot of the neighbors in the area, I really want to thank the county for the efforts that they're making in Greenbrook Park. It's not quite done, but you really did a good job cleaning out the brook. I brought it to the attention of the city of Plainfield because the litter is just horrible. But driving past today, just to make you aware, I think another tree fell down in the extension pond, probably last night from the rain or the winds, so that's got to be removed. But I know that the county spent a lot of money trying to pick up what happened after the nor'easter, and I really appreciate it, and I've gotten phone calls from neighbors all around the area. I also now have to have a concern about Cedarbrook Park. I was called by a resident of South Plainfield who happens to be a relative of mine. He's concerned because we're not sure if the county owns it or if the water company owns it. But behind Cedarbrook Lake, there's a bridge with a guardrail, and it's blocked with debris. And if you need to have more information, I can give you the number of my relative, and they'd be happy to take the county out there to show them what he's talking about. But it's an access bridge, I think, to the water company, and residents can't get back there to really access it because they have put cameras up there, I guess because of Homeland Security issues. But there's a concern that in the last rains we just had, it was backing up into the Cedarbrook Park. So you need to take a look and make sure that it's undammed back there. Thank you very much. And I really, really do appreciate it. And I got a lot of phone calls from the neighbors, and I appreciate
I see as I was writing notes, County Manager Oatman and Freeholder Carter were both writing down notes also. So I know they'll both be in contact with Director Zuber and reference that, so. Any other members of the public wishing to comment?
John Berry of Kenilworth. Yeah, I've got some prepared remarks, but before that, on those cultural grants to the, I think Director Zuber said one church. There was a New Jersey Supreme Court decision this week, I guess. I forget the county, but it said church-state thing. I don't know if it's going to be followed, but there could be issues with giving money to the church, and the New Jersey Supreme Court said there were. So I don't know if you cancel that or whatever, but there might be something to look into it. Now, the remarks, just like 6 paragraphs, short paragraphs. After 10 years of following government in Union County, I conclude that politics is government here, and as such is a legitimate topic for discussion in this open comment period, as is nepotism, which is something that the ACLU had to remind this board of back in 2009. Decisions are made that nobody up there has the practical power to object to. Here's the process as I see it. Anyone who wants public money, jobs, or contracts first goes through the Union County Democratic Committee, who, in a one-party county, appoint people to this board who they expect to do what they are told. What you are being told to do is to rubber stamp contracts or projects that will benefit lawyers, engineering firms, and other service providers so they can in turn donate to the Union County Democratic Committee and individual candidates. You are allowed freedom on issues that do not impact that flow of tax money, like mountain biking and Watchung Reservation, but are expected to prove even the most blatant boondoggles like the Roselle Mind and Body Complex, which would have tripled Roselle's debt for the benefit of connected firms and individuals, as well as the Union County Improvement Authority, which needs money to repay millions of dollars from a prior boondoggle, the solar panel fiasco that benefit Dakotas and others connected firms. Any one of you who steps out of line is endangering their slot on the party line. In the case of Freeholder Jallo, it was likely his support of Colleen Marr over Nicholas Guattari for the chairmanship of the Union County Democratic Committee that cost him a seat here, but his failure to support the Roselle Mind and Body Complex might have also played a role. I see only one way out of this corrosive cycle, and that is to have an open and honest dialogue so that maybe enough people understand what is really going on and take action to stop it. Allowing me to say that, all that here is a good start.
Thank you very much, Mr. Berry. I don't have prepared remarks, but I just want to once again make mention of how every single freeholder on this freeholder board makes all decisions based off their own judgment. So I just want to make sure, I don't have prepared comments like you do, but I just want to make sure we're aware of that and we're all put that in the public. Any other members of the public wishing to comment?
I gotta go first before the tall guy. Good evening, Chairman Granados, Bruce Patterson, Garwood, ladies and gentlemen of the Freeholder Board. Yeah, my condolences also go out to Assemblyman Green and his family. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, I actually did know his family pretty well, his ex-wife and the daughter and the son and even the daughter's grandkids. And it was a swell family all around. I didn't talk much to Assemblyman Green, but the rest of the family I did talk to. So my condolences go out to all of them. Very sorry about that. A question is, somebody could answer this. I mean, you mentioned this efficiency ad hoc committee, and I guess it's something good if they helped trim the budget, but I'm just wondering, who actually serves on this efficiency ad hoc committee? Hopefully, you might have reached out to those people that come down from Summit every year, although they haven't come down this year, the Summit Taxpayers Association, to try to help out. Even Mr. Berry would have been great to be on the committee, but I guess you didn't reach out to him. But who is actually on that committee? And lastly, yeah, I mean, I guess the public doesn't really like bringing Freeholder Jala in on it, but I mean, just to continue what I was talking about last meeting before I was abruptly shut down, and also Chair Granados actually kept mentioning every single freeholder makes his own decision. And I really have to take exception to that because maybe they do. However, there's the repercussions from making their own decision. Freeholder Jala on this board has served equivalently to the rest of you. I'm not going to find fault with anything more or less of what he's done, but it's very similar to exactly what you have done. The only decision that he had made was obviously off the dais, and it was just selecting somebody for an organization that somebody else wanted the job for, and somehow now he's not getting the line. Something doesn't smell right here. Also, now he doesn't have the line. And so every single freeholder makes his own decision. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't fly. Freeholder Matt one time said it was a resolution for $7 million, and it was for maybe the BUF in Plainfield. And he says, what is this all about? And when another freeholder responded to him saying, oh, we were told to vote on this. So Mr. Burry is right that there's a corrupted practice here of pay to play. Something is not right. Freeholders making their own decision, I mean, that sounds good. Seems like, you do, but of course you make all the same decisions, all the yeses. Every time, yeses, yeses. I do commend Freeholder Estrada many times over the years. He's the sole no on certain resolutions. But for freeholders to make their own decision, there's repercussions. So there's a little motivation that the decision that they're making has to be according to a certain process or person behind the scenes. It's behind the scenes that seems to be the manipulation to you guys. And the process that Mr. Burry talks about may very well be true. I not 100%, but I do agree with the direction that he's going. And so we're facing it. So, that's my comments. You don't have to respond. I mean, we already heard what you said, that every freeholder makes their own decision, but I doubt it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patterson. The cost efficiency task force was made up of fiscal chairman Bruce Bergen, vice chair Kowalski, freeholder Chris Hudak, and myself, in which we worked alongside our fiscal committee and with this freeholder board in making sure that we got our tax rates lowered under 2% this year also. Lowest it's been, I believe, in 15 years. 15 years, I believe. Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to comment? Seeing no one else, I'll formally close this portion of the meeting and ask for freeholder report. Oh, sorry. Before we move on, clearly the board has a couple of comments.
If you give me a moment, I apologize, Chairman, but I had called the roll incorrectly. You had 9 votes in the affirmative for all the resolutions, with the exception of 8 votes in the affirmative and 1 abstention for Resolution 2018-319, 8 votes in the affirmative with 1 vote in the negative for Resolution 315, and then you had 8 votes in the affirmative with 1 in the negative for Resolution 2018-373. So, thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Freeholder reports. Freeholder Hudak.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a couple of comments this evening. This Saturday, this past Sunday, Chairman Granados and I joined Service Unit 42 Girl Scouts at Wheeler Park in Linden, and we did a great cleanup of that county park. I want to thank the young women who came out, and it was a sort of a cold and wet morning, but they got into the river and helped beautify that park, and they did it with enthusiasm and a real good sense of community pride. I want to thank Natalie Hernandez, who is the director of the Office of Community Engagement, and she did a great job in organizing that project, and we had a couple of Linden Council folks there as well who put on waders and went into the river and pulled out some large debris, so thanks to them as well. And secondly, I just wanted to refer to Resolution 373 in terms of the legalization of marijuana. I spoke to the chairman about bringing this particular resolution onto the agenda. Part of my career background was I spent 5 years working for the Partnership for a Drug-Free New Jersey. And that experience, as well as subsequent experience as an elected official, a public official, I've come to the opinion that the prohibition regime in terms of marijuana is just counterproductive. Now, there are a number of proposals that have been set forth to the public in terms of marijuana. There have been a number of other regulatory regimes that have been put forth in other states. I've seen, and of course this all is happening while the federal law is still in place saying that marijuana is an illicit drug. I for one, I think there should be decriminalization. There's money better spent in law enforcement and money better spent in our criminal justice system, both in terms of prosecuting individuals as well as incarcerating them. Secondly, I particularly favor a bill like this over the decriminalization bill that was put forth, mostly because if you simply just decriminalize and you allow people to carry, you still have not dealt with the black market effect of the drug coming into the commerce stream. So I think, from what I've been reading, this bill is probably not going to be the final bill that gets through, if one should get through to the governor's desk. But that's my reasoning on this particular bill, and I just think this is an idea that has come. I think there's probably better ways to regulate it, and I'm sure there's going to be a healthy debate in Trenton. But it's a good issue for us to consider here, as it will affect ultimately our residents here in Union County. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you much, Freeholder Hudak. Freeholder Jallo.
Thank you. I'd like to also speak on 373, as I voted against it. My reasons are as follows. The Bill 373, I feel, is premature at this time for our support. I don't believe it's well thought out at this current time. I think that there are issues that need to be addressed and looked into. I certainly agree with the concept of decriminalizing marijuana. I agree with it as a concept, and would love to see it implemented in a way that actually benefits people, and particularly the people that improper or incorrect drug laws have affected. The war on drugs has affected many people in urban communities and affected them for generations, for a generation. I, as a municipal prosecutor, I've witnessed, and as a public defender, many years before that, I've witnessed people fall victim to poor legislation with regard to marijuana, prohibition of marijuana. I've seen people unable to get jobs that have followed them their entire career. So certainly I am for decriminalization, but it has to be done responsibly. It has to be done properly. It can't simply be a money grab to allow for more money and for people with the means and the right types of money to be able to be in a situation where they can actually benefit from the decriminalization, or benefit from the legalization, rather, of marijuana. I think it has to be done in a way where the opportunity that's afforded by this is given to the communities that have suffered from this for generations. There are communities that have been dilapidated as a result of the war on drugs. There's been communities that have lost so much because of some of this unfair draw laws, and those communities should benefit from a legalization such as this, and I don't see that anywhere in the legislation at this point. Also, I think that people who have had their livelihoods affected should be part of the people who have the opportunity to benefit from this as well. I look forward to seeing those being added to this, and if that does occur, it would be something that I support. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Jallo. Freeholder Mirabella.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to add a bit to the comments I made earlier on the Union County College scholarships. I had the pleasure, as I mentioned before, to attend the 2018 reception and was happy to see over 1,000 students that received scholarships thanks to the generosity of the donors that were in attendance. We've all been longtime advocates for higher education. We proudly support the college and its mission, and other educational institutions like the vocational schools and in our county. Not only has the board financially supported Union County College, but we've played a major role in expanding the infrastructure, the facilities of the campuses around our county, in Elizabeth, in Cranford, and in Plainfield. So I want to just say that I'm happy to play our part. I do hope the Freeholders will get together and support this mayor's initiative. I think it's a good thing. And I'll just say one quick word on President McMenamin, who always says that her mission is to transform our county one student at a time. And I couldn't agree with her more. She's done a miraculous job since taking the presidency many, many years ago, and continues to do a good job, and I'm happy to support that. I was very proud to represent the board at that foundation dinner for the scholarships. One last thing, and very quickly, Mr. Chairman, is earlier this week, I had a chance to attend right in Scotch Plains a street naming for Pat Denizio. And for those people who don't know Pat Denizio, he was the creator, the songwriter, and the singer for the Smithereens, the band in the 80s. And you know, it was great to unveil that and represent the board there. It was someone who I respected, who was a dear friend of mine personally, and wherever in the world he was, he spoke about Scotch Plains and Union County and New Jersey, and it was nice to see him getting some recognition after his passing. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll conclude my comments.
Thank you very much, Freeholder Mirabella. Freeholder Garrettson.
Good evening. I hear my colleagues on the other side of the dais talking about marijuana, but we also had some very exciting legislation this week. When we talk about participation, we had the automatic voter registration bill enhancing voting rights throughout the state. So I want us not to be remiss in recognizing that there's a lot of legislation that's going on that we're very much a part of, that we have committee meetings regularly. We're very active, this board, so we do continue to do a lot of good work. I also wanted to share a couple events, one specifically coming up next Wednesday, April 25th at the Liberty Hall Carriage House at Kane University. It will begin at 6:30. The performance is entitled Donuts for Doughboys, which provides a fascinating window into the lives of 500 women who served as Salvation Army volunteers with the American Army in France. And the second event, I just want you to save the date, Wednesday, May 23rd, will be an exciting event, another County Means Business event, Union County Means Business. The theme is Women Leading the Change, stepping into a bigger version of you, focusing on leadership skills, defining your values, and creating a vision for the future. So I want to just, again, be mindful that it's not just what we do when we're at these meetings, but that there's a lot of work that has to go into a lot of the decision-making every day. But we also have these very, very fun activities that are going on in the county as well. Thank you.
Thank you much, Freeholder Garrettson. Freeholder Bergen.
Thank you, Chairman. I feel compelled to make some brief remarks concerning some of the things said by Mr. Burry and Mr. Patterson. I'm not going to argue with their theories, but what I find they tend to do is to slip in little statements that are pejorative, and they don't really focus on them, but I think that it's important that it be pointed out in the record. For instance, when Mr. Burry says that we're getting away with what we're doing with the Open Space Trust Fund, nothing could be further from the truth. We're not getting away with anything. The money that is raised through that dedicated tax is spent legally and properly each and every year, and we look at it very carefully. So to throw in that line is just implies wrongdoing when there is none. Likewise, Mr. Burry quickly said that we have to vote the way our boss, Senator Scutari, tells us to. And again, very clearly, he's not our boss. He does not attempt to be our boss, and does not tell this board how to vote. So to, again, slip that in other comments is wrong, and it should not go unchallenged. I want to join with my colleagues at the far end who spoke briefly about Resolution 373 concerning the legalization of marijuana. And I don't really disagree with anything that either one of them said. I am in support, in concept, of the legalization of marijuana. I agree with Freeholder Hudak that there likely will be changes during the process, and in fact, there should be changes. In particular, one of the things referenced by Mr. Burry was I think it was Mr. Burry, the possibility of people driving while under the influence. And yes, there needs to be laws and methods to control that. But you don't stop legalizing it because it may have that problem. Certainly, when this country tried to make alcohol illegal, that didn't work. And I would say it's a very similar situation. So I support legalizing it with appropriate controls and appropriate procedures. And I think that the points brought up by Freeholder Jallo are all very good ones, and I think the legislature really should be looking at those. So those are very good points. But I do ultimately believe that that is the appropriate way to go. I also want to mention Mr. Patterson slipped in concerning the actions of this board, that we are acting in a way that is corrupted. And again, nothing could be further from the truth. This board follows the law in everything that we do. We do not violate pay-to-play at any time, and to throw in the word corrupted, I object to that, and it is not true. Turning to something of a lighter nature, this board has for a long time pushed for transportation improvements in the county, and I'm happy to report that earlier this month, the New Jersey Transit Board of Directors approved a major reconstruction of the Elizabeth train station. This will include new station buildings with climate-controlled shelters, additional elevators, improvements for people with disabilities, longer platforms, and much, much more. The Elizabeth train station is a major hub for transportation for Union County residents, commuters, and our visitors, and it's an important gateway to the Elizabeth and Union County communities, and it should reflect our goals, our priorities, and our strengths. So when it is completed in 2022, the reconstruction will help bring that about. I do want to thank Governor Phil Murphy and the New Jersey Transit Board of Directors and their new director for what they've done to help make this project happen. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you much, Freeholder Bergen. Freeholder Carter.
Thank you, Chairman. Earth Day is coming this Saturday, and with that in mind, I'd like to remind you about some of our environmental programming. Saturday, April 21st, there will be free drop-off locations available in Cranford and Rawway for your scrap metal, including old fencing, gutters, bicycles, and more. For gardeners, our Recycling Bureau has organized a 50% discount on composter bins and rain barrels. Orders are being taken online until Monday, April the 23rd. Next Friday, April the 27th, our free mobile paper shredding service. Visit Cedarbrook Park in Plainfield. Please check the times. It is in the morning. And the following Saturday, April 29th, is one of our most popular events. It's the annual Wild Earth Fest at the Trailside Nature and Science Center in Mountainside. For more information and details on our recycling events, programs at Trailside, and also for all of the programming we have going on coming up this summer, please visit us online at ucnj.org. And we have many things posted also throughout our social media. Thank you so much.
Thank you much, Freeholder Carter. Freeholder Estrada.
I would like to bank my time, please.
Thank you much, Freeholder Estrada.
Appropriate credit.
County Council Barrett.
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, County Manager Goldman. Vice Chair Kowalski.
Thank you, Chairman. couple of things. I'd like to thank the participants of the LGBTQ Pledge and Protect workshop, which was held at Warrenanko Sports Center earlier this month. This is one of Chairman Granados' initiatives. It has the goal of educating and raising awareness among senior service and housing providers to help ensure that older adults in the LGBTQ community can live with equal dignity and respect. So I'm sure we'll be having events of this kind in the future, and it went very well. As part of our commitment to foster inclusion and community engagement, we're also looking forward to our first annual Walk for Autism Awareness and Spring Carnival. That will be on Saturday, April 28th, rain or shine at Matano Park. Registration begins at 11 in the morning and the walk starts at noon, so that's Saturday, April 28th at Matano Park. About Earth Day, Freeholder Carter mentioned some events, and I'd also like to encourage anybody who wants to get out for some of the river cleanups. There will be one in Winfield all day, or well, all morning on Saturday, this coming Saturday, the 21st. Meeting at Bloodgood Pond off of Parkway Drive in Winfield, and also there are river cleanups in Cranford and in several other towns in the area. So if you feel like getting out and helping to clean up the environment a little bit, we'd love to have you join in. Freeholder Estrada didn't mention or didn't take credit for showing up at the New Providence Street Smart presentation that he made with support from NJTPA. This project Street Smart is it's a collaborative effort between public, private, and nonprofit organizations, the NJTPA with the Federal Highway Administration, New Jersey Department of Transportation, and New Jersey Division of Highway and Traffic Safety, encouraging more safe practices, especially to protect pedestrians, asking drivers to obey speed limits, stop for pedestrians, asking pedestrians to use the crosswalk and wait for the walk sign. We have rolled out, well, the NJTPA, which Freeholder Estrada is the chairman this year, has rolled out programs in my town, Cranford, as well as Elizabeth. Now New Providence is participating. I think there was some confusion in New Providence where they seem to, some of the people in the audience seem to think that all of the freeholders were from urban areas, but we're from all kinds of municipalities around the county, and we want to make sure that all of our municipalities are safe. So, of course, we support this project. Tree grants. I have had the opportunity to stop in at Williams Nursery last week. Union County cooperates with the state and Rutgers Cooperative Extension to make trees available to groups from our local schools, and the children come with their teacher. They learn how to plant a tree and take care of it. It's a great program, and I was very pleased to be there with our parks and tree folks and Rutgers Co-op, and of course the schools and their teachers. So, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Just also make mention of reference to Freeholder Carter, yesterday, who received the 2018 Service Above Self Award. I know Freeholder Bergen and Freeholder Mirabella were able to attend, but I just want to give you a special shout out because we understand all the hard work you do in our communities, and we apologize for not being able to make it. I know I apologize for not being able to openly say I apologize for that.
Oh, okay. You want to make sure it's out there in public.
Exactly, make sure
Oh.
it's out in public.
I got
It's
you,
out
I
in
got you,
public.
I got you.
But I also want to make acknowledgments to the Office for People with Special Needs, putting together a Red Bulls game this Saturday at Red Bull Arena, and having the Red Bulls join in efforts with them about Autism Awareness Month. And they're going to dedicate their game this coming Saturday to autism awareness. And also another special shout out to Director Graziano and Deputy County Manager Amy Wagner for making sure that the lights in front of the courthouse, if you haven't already seen it, are lit up blue in recognition of Autism Awareness Month. So I just want to say thank you for that.
That's good.
So with that said, I ask a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Aye.